Hey, everybody. I don't know if there's anyone there right now, but we've been having massive technical difficulties. So just hang tight a bit, and we're going to try to get Nick on here with me. I think I am streaming this thing. It says I'm live on YouTube. All right. 2 are watching now. Interestingly, I don't. If anyone's watching, can write a comment, just say hi. I would appreciate that so I'd know it's working. Someone say hi. Hi, everybody. All right, nothing's happening. Great. All right, well, so for the, now we've got some highs. Good. I'm glad to see it's working. Well, while we're trying to get this working, let's go ahead and take some questions. Nick is trying to get connected right now, and I don't know why he's not on yet, but we tried a bunch of times to get this going, and just had a ton of trouble. So I'm going to just monitor the questions and see if anyone has any questions to ask me. Go for it, and hopefully Nick will jump on very soon. I'm going to just shoot him an email real quick. Hopefully it'll be real quick. Oh, he's waiting for a new Zoom link now. It's an old one. So, oop, there's somebody. Oh, there's Nick. Okay.
Okay. I didn't realize we were on. Sorry, I didn't realize we were on the same link, but I saw somebody comment on our post and say we were live, and I was like, "Wait a second, I'm not live."
Yes, you are.
Hello, world. Okay, so now I gotta go back and say yes, we are, for anybody who was wondering. But yeah, hello. How are you? What's going on?
Oh man, I'm doing great. It only took us 22 minutes to go live.
Right.
The funny thing is, when we started, Carrie said we were going to be earlier than usual because we started about a minute before time, but that did not work out.
Speaking of Carrie, if she's listening, the eye in the sky here, can you get a link in the post on Frequent Miler for us for this? Because a couple people were asking us there, saying that the link was taking them to last week's video, so you can embed that in the post real quick. That would help those folks out.
So hopefully she heard that.
Hopefully she did.
Yeah.
So, this week, I wanted to kick it off with a Lufthansa duck story. I was going to ask you about one of your Lufthansa ducks because I really just wanted to be able to brag and be like, I've got a duck that you don't have.
Oh.
So right. I'm going to bust it right out before we get into the question. So I actually just found this week. I have a Lufthansa bib ducky. So
bib ducky. Oh,
I do. I got a bib ducky.
Really cute.
I'll try to keep it clean for the.
Were you being messy? So they came around and said, you need this.
No, but the color of it's like a yellow color with white on the outside. So it looks like it got really messy and it's stained, but it's not. It's just that color. It's just an odd pick.
Oh, okay, good. Well, here's my regular not bib Lufthansa ducky, or one of them. And
one of them.
Yeah, it's got anyway. Okay, let's jump into some questions here.
Yeah. So I know that we got a question early on today, like real early, as soon as the news broke, because obviously the big news today is Chase and what Chase has done with the Sapphire cards. So somebody asked early on our YouTube live post to say, what are your thoughts about this ability? Now, if you missed it, what happened today is Chase announced that they are going to allow you to cash out points, to redeem points for a statement credit towards groceries, home improvement stores, or dining purchases at 1.5 cents a point with the Sapphire Reserve, or 1.25 cents with the Sapphire Preferred. And so I can't remember who it was, but they asked, what are your thoughts about that? What do you think about that? Is that a good redemption, bad redemption? Are you excited? What are you thinking about all that, Greg?
While I answer, tell Carrie again what you wanted her to do. She said she didn't hear. So,
Okay, Carrie, embed the link for this in the post that's on Frequent Miler, the live post. That's like one of
Okay.
the
I meant you could have typed it back, but that's fine.
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, obviously this is good news because it's been weird that there's so many uh, situations where cards where the best value use of the points is to redeem for travel where they haven't done anything, especially these ultra premium cards where they haven't done anything to make the points valuable when we're staying home away from travel. And so it's pretty good. The ability to get the $300 travel credit, that's a pretty much direct copy of what Citibank and Amex did with some of their travel reimbursements, but it's still welcome, right? So that makes it easier for people who don't know some admittedly very simple tricks for getting that travel credit. But um, the nice thing is you don't have to worry about the possibility of getting clawed back if you cancel a travel reservation, that sort of thing. So that's really nice. Then the ability so basically what they've given us is ability to cash out points, Sapphire Reserve card holders at 1.5. And it's something we could always have done before if we had a lot of flights to book. We've talked before about how other things, you're not necessarily getting the full 1.5, but it's pretty close. So I don't know. I think it's a good thing. And I think whether or not it's worth taking advantage of totally depends on your circumstances.
So what are the circumstances where it would make sense?
So yeah, I mean, anyone who uses the points routinely to pay for travel at 1.5, I think you're better off using the points now to redeem for grocery and dining and what is it, home improvement, I think, or was
home
was it all
stores,
three for that?
Yep.
And because I mean, either way, what you're doing is you're basically saying, I want to get my statement credits paid for at this value, and so you might as well take advantage of the opportunity while it's there. And everybody has those charges to some degree. So why not? Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually pretty exciting for a couple of reasons. Because obviously, if you're going to redeem them at 1.5 cents on any sort of travel purchase, why wouldn't you go ahead and redeem them on something you're going to spend money on anyway? But beyond that, there's a couple of other reasons I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting because you could potentially redeem those points for gift cards for certain maybe travel brands and things that you may not have been able to redeem at 1.5 cents each for. Like, for example, let's say you want to stay at an Airbnb, you can redeem your points now to erase a purchase from the grocery store or the home improvement store for Airbnb gift cards. And there are some caveats with Airbnb gift cards, but my point is that it's an example of being able to get 1.5 cents per point on something that you're able to book on your own and pick up on your own and negotiate the price and that sort of thing. Same with hotels.com to be able to stack those gift cards with various things. So I think there's some really good reasons travel wise, which you can do, where you can do better than normal, better than the usual 1.5 cents a point, I think. And then beyond that, I think it's interesting because it makes me think about redemptions differently in terms of opportunity cost. I look at it and I say, I answered somebody earlier today. I said, if I have 60,000 points and I decide, I'm going to hang on to those points to spend 3 nights at a Hyatt down the road somewhere, like now I look at it and say, well, that's costing me $900 today, because goodness knows I'm going to spend $900 in groceries in that window of time when you could redeem the points, and I could redeem them for $900. So I'm basically paying $300 a night to stay at that Hyatt. Now, maybe that's okay with me, maybe it's not, but it certainly makes me reconsider how much that stay is costing me in terms of the opportunity cost to hang on to the points and send away my cash right now.
Right. So another thing that just occurred to me is it's in a very indirect way. So if you think of it as just cashing in your points for cash, then you could literally use that cash for anything, right?
Anything, yeah. Right.
So if to the extent that there are sales on points and miles where they cost less 1.5 or less, you're basically getting a transfer bonus if it's less than 1.5.
Right.
And you're getting the opportunity to transfer Chase points to something besides their normal transfer partners, if that's valuable to you. Now, again, I always say don't buy points unless you have an immediate need for them, or it's just so ridiculously cheap that it makes sense. But it does open up kind of interesting opportunities there.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's really interesting. I'm sure we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks and maybe on the
Sure.
podcast this weekend. But I thought it was an interesting question to ask for your immediate thoughts on that. So we got a question from Jan. Jan asks, on a chat about Amex, Hilton, Aspire, restaurant credit, the CSR, so I assume it's a customer service representative, said gift cards won't count. Any thoughts talking about using the Hilton Aspire restaurant credit? The Hilton Aspire card comes with a $250 a year resort credit normally, but this year you'll be able to use it at restaurants for a couple of months here, June to
Right.
August, I think, right? So the customer service rep said it won't work. I'm buying a gift card. What do you think, Greg?
Right. Well, they're probably right in some very specific circumstances. So, for example, if you go to a drugstore and buy a restaurant gift card, that's not going to work. Also, many restaurant chains online, if you buy their gift card, it's not charged by the restaurant chain for that gift card, and so that won't work. But if you go into a restaurant and you buy it there, it's going to work. I mean, as long as Amex codes the restaurant overall as a restaurant, it's going to work.
It's going to work. Yeah. Yeah. So the customer service reps are going to tell you no all day long, but they're wrong.
Right.
And I realized so that's basic, just simple answer there, Jen. So
Right.
At the restaurant, you're fine. So let me back up because I actually skipped the first question. I just realized. So, so Ron asked, I just tried upgrading to the Chase Sapphire Reserve and I was told it's not an option. Have you ever heard of this before?
I think we did hear something about that. They were pausing upgrades. Didn't that come up? Just during this time.
I didn't.
Or was that a different card?
I didn't think so, but then now that you said it, now you got me kind of wondering if maybe I did hear that, something about product changing. The first thing that came to my mind was that the Sapphire Reserve does have a minimum credit line. So if you didn't have a $10,000 credit line on whatever card you were trying to upgrade, then that wouldn't have worked. If you were trying to upgrade a co-branded card, for instance, like a United card or something like that, that wouldn't work. But assuming you had, let's say you had a Sapphire Preferred or a Freedom card with at least a $10,000 credit line, then I would think you'd be able to upgrade it. I mean, of course, they've probably got their standards in terms of, credit score and things like that, because they'll probably do a soft pull for a product change. But it's not coming to my mind that there
I might be hallucinating. Because I can't
sure.
pull up any details about that, but it almost, I don't know. So we don't know.
We don't know.
All right, let's go on to Steve's question.
Go ahead.
Do you see any other sweet spots on the Emirates chart that would be good now that they remove taxes, other than Newark, Athens, Italy, etc.?
Well, you know what? Forget about the Emirates chart for a second. The other sweet spot that I think I didn't see talked about, and maybe I missed, I mentioned it in email with Greg and Steven yesterday or last night when it came to me, was using other partner miles to fly on Emirates, because I noticed it looks like Qantas now is not charging those ridiculous fuel surcharges either. So my bet is that Japan Airlines probably isn't charging those ridiculous surcharges either if Emirates doesn't have them. So there might be some opportunities in terms of other airline miles. Japan Airlines had some sweet spots, but once they added those huge surcharges, they became much less interesting. Now, Japan Airlines miles aren't easy to earn. You'd have to transfer from Marriott, or I think there's a credit card, some obscure Japan Airlines credit card that you can get that isn't a particularly good earner, but maybe that would be a possibility, maybe, kind of, sort of. So no, that's as far as, my thoughts. Look for some of those opportunities. Qantas has some interesting spots where it doesn't cost all that many miles to fly in premium cabins with Emirates. So it depends on how far you're flying. But what do you think, Greg? Was there anything else that came to your mind?
No, I mean, I don't know of any off the top of my head.
Yeah, I know. For example, we talked about. Oops, sorry about that. For example, you could fly Emirates first from New York to Dubai, let's say, and I think Emirates was charging something like 145,000 miles one way in first class, whereas Qantas is 126,000 miles one way. And they are also transfer partners with Amex and Citi, and there are frequently transfer bonuses, and sometimes, if you've transferred miles to Qantas before, they add their own transfer bonus. So sometimes you can stack two transfer bonuses. So if that were to happen, there's times when there's been like basically 30% or 35%, I think, in terms of transfer bonus. So you might be able to get a first class flight on an A380 for like under 100,000 points from the US to Dubai or something like that. So that might be interesting down the road. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So Grant asks, hey, Greg and Nick, channel your inner devil's advocate and share why the new Chase Sapphire Reserve changes are not that great. And then he says, thank you. P.S. I miss Julian, the devil's advocate, and love to see him on a YouTube live or as a podcast guest. Actually, that would be fun.
Probably be a lot of fun.
We should do that.
We probably should. All right. So what do you think? Are these, I mean, you didn't sound as excited about the changes, these new additions. So why do you think they aren't great?
Well, no, the statement credit thing is not great for people who easily spend it anyway. And
meaning the credit, the annual travel credit.
The annual travel credit. And I think that any, let's say grocery spend, any grocery spend that you do right once these credits kick in, that you won't earn the points on that grocery spend. So there's this awkward situation where if you haven't used up your travel credits yet, you kind of want to do so before you go to the grocery store if you want to earn 5x on your Sapphire Reserve. So there's that kind of weirdness going on there.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
And then, I don't know. I actually think that the ability to redeem at 1.5 is great. I think that's an awesome, perfectly hit the market need, in my opinion. So I have a hard time playing devil's advocate on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I look at it and I say I don't usually redeem my points at 1.5 cents per point through the portal. I usually use my points with transfer partners, so that isn't necessarily as exciting to me. And I'm not in the situation where I feel like I need to redeem the points for that right now. So I wasn't particularly excited in the sense that I didn't feel like, oh man, I'm going to go cash out my entire balance tomorrow.
Right.
But at the same time, yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say that that's a bad move. That's a pretty solid move from Chase. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I guess here's what we could say as devil's advocate, that compared to what Amex did, they didn't necessarily make the card more valuable for most of us. So Amex, like Platinum, they threw a bunch of money at us.
That's true.
Aspire, they made the free nights way more valuable.
That's true. There you go.
So
nicely done.
There you go, Grant.
There you go.
Nailed it.
You know what though? I'm gonna add something interesting that came up via email a little while ago. So I hadn't thought of this, and I didn't actually mention this to you when we were writing back and forth. But so those of us who signed up for the Sapphire Reserve long ago when it initially debuted have the travel credit, and I believe it still posts each calendar year, right? So January through December kind of a thing, or at least through your December statement credit. So I've already used my travel credit for this year. I used it right up in January, right? But after my December statement cuts, that means there'll be a small window of time where I could use the next $300 travel credit at the grocery store.
That's true. That's true. For what that's worth.
For what that's worth. So if you're not sure you're going to use it next year, bang, you cash that out in December. So
that's a really good point. And I mean, and that's what you just said is true for anyone who has their
anniversary coming up.
Anniversary before the end of the year, right?
Right. If you're a newer card holder and you have an anniversary before the end of the year, then of course, your travel credit resets with your anniversary. So you're going to get $300 to.
Which we forgot to mention the other thing. If your anniversary resets before the end of the year, it's going to reset at the lower annual fee, so $450 instead of $550. So that's good that they made that sort of permanent for the year.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it a pretty stellar deal because the 300 is basically cash value at this point. I mean, if you wanted to argue it before, you can't argue too hard anymore anyway. So that's like $150, and then if you're going to use that DoorDash credit for $60, I mean, you're down to like a $90 fee on the card. So that's
actually pretty sweet deal.
Yeah. So, all right. So there we go. So Matthew asks us next up, for Amex credits, if you made a purchase, let's say today, and it's pending for several days, what month will the charge and credit post for? That's an easy one to answer. Go ahead, Greg.
If you made a purchase, so you make a purchase in end of May, and
it takes a few days to post. Yep.
Well, no, it'll charge for whatever the date is that Amex records. So as long as Amex is aware of the purchase today, it'll go down as today's date.
Yeah. So if you went to the post office today and you bought stamps today, even though it might not clear until June, the transaction date is still going to be today on your statement. So you're going to get the credit for May.
The confusion comes in with some online merchants or whatever, where they don't actually process the charge right away when you make the purchase. Like they'll pre-authorize it, but not actually charge your card until they're ready to ship or something like that. And then you've got problems.
Right. Or if you buy a United Club Lounge pass on December 31st, they might just decide not to charge you until January 1st, and you may miss the chance to use your airline fee credit.
Not that you're bitter about that.
Not at all. Not at all. That they gave me the pass that day on December 31st and didn't charge me until the first of the year. Anyway, so that was good for Matthew. Next question.
All right. Who's next? Let's see. Maurizio. I would love to hear what you think of Avianca's situation. What do you think?
I don't
Avianca.
know. Yeah. Everybody's in tough financial positions right now. Do I think Avianca is any worse off than anybody else? I mean, you know, I don't have any crystal ball, but I imagine that most of these major airlines that are the major flag carrier for their country are probably going to come out of this okay. Their governments probably aren't going to let them fail. Now, I say that, and I'm sure somebody out there is saying, but South African Airways did. But they've been propped up for years, and a lot of dysfunction going on there. So that wasn't exactly something that was precipitated by this. I think Avianca is probably going to be fine. I think Life Miles particularly will probably be okay. That must be where they're making most of their money right now. So I'm not too concerned. You, Greg?
No, same. I'm not worried. And I just hope that they'll put more customer service into the Life Miles program at some point. But nice. I think under the current economic situation, that's
not going to happen anytime soon.
Not going to happen soon.
No. I don't think anybody's going to be investing in extra.
Right. No, it's going to be a cash cow, not an investment for them. Yeah.
Right. So I wouldn't be worried about Avianca, but I also wouldn't transfer miles there just for fun right now. If you got a redemption in mind, that's one thing, but it's the same with everybody at this point. There's been some hubbub in the last few days and our frequent miler insiders about Virgin Atlantic Flying Club and how people haven't been able to log in for a few days. It's been saying the system's down. I saw their Twitter team was saying, yeah, they're working on getting it back up. It's the same thing there. I don't know. I'm not panicked about that. They probably have to lay off half their IT department and everybody's working from home. So, I don't think that means they're going to fold. Do you think that means?
No, not at all. I'm not worried about that at all.
Me either. So, all right. So Philip asks us, hey, Greg, any updates on how you're planning to cancel your Life Miles award flight? Oh, well, speaking of Life Miles, we know that Greg has a Life Miles reservation of some sort, some flight he booked with Life Miles. And he was kind of dreading, I think, having to try to cancel that and deal with customer service. Speaking of Life Miles customer service, they're not really known for their great customer service. So what's been going on with that, Greg? Have you made any headway there?
I've been sitting on it. The only thing I did was I reached out to their Twitter team several weeks ago to ask them if there was any way to get like a fee waiver on it. And they basically said no. Took a long time to get the no, but eventually they said it. And so, then I read Miles to Memories. One of their writers had a post about that it's technically possible to get free changes under certain circumstances. So I think this flight meets those circumstances. So I could theoretically change the flight to further out in schedule, but then, I don't think I know when we're going to need to do that trip again. It's actually a flight. It's not in my name. So it was a couple that we were going to be traveling with that I used my miles to book their flight. And so there's a number of reasons why I just think it's unlikely. I could guess that if they would happen at all, let alone when it would happen. So I think we're going to end up taking the, $200 hit, whatever it is, to get the miles restated, which is unfortunate. I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah. Well, and that is unfortunate, but it's tough times now. And even if you can get things, refunded or that sort of thing, it seems like refunds are taking forever with most airlines.
It's true.
So,
yeah.
A lot of difficulty there. And at some point, I guess you have to ask yourself, how much is the time worth?
Exactly.
Battling,
Right. I mean, you go into these things. I go into all of these awards knowing that there's a chance I'm going to be paying the redeposit fee. And so, I lost that bet, but I usually win them, right? I usually don't end up having to.
Right.
So, all right, let's move on. Josh asks, do you think Chase will do anything to help with the Ritz Cards travel credit this year? In one word?
No, Devin. They're not offering the card anymore. I mean, if they didn't want people to want it badly enough to offer it to new applicants, I mean, I don't think that keeping those customers on a card that they're not bothering to market or offer to new people is high on the priority list for Chase right now.
Right. I'm gonna play devil's advocate though for
Go
fun
ahead.
because
Go
Grant
ahead.
suggested
Please.
we do.
Please.
All right. So Chase is not allowed to offer to new customers a premium Bonvoy card to new customers because
Mhm.
Amex has that slot.
Right.
So Chase might want to keep their existing customers, even though they're not allowed to recruit new ones. So they might have an incentive from that point of
Yeah.
view.
Yeah. They would have paid Bonvoy more to be able to do it if they really cared, I think. They would have found a way to negotiate that out and be able to offer it if it was worth it to them. So yeah, I mean, that's surely there's an argument there. I'd love for you to be right, devil's advocate there, but yeah, I don't think they're going to do anything on that. Why would they? I mean, again, it's a card that they've gotten rid of. So so I just don't see them bending over backwards to help people.
I actually totally agree.
Yeah. And it's relatively easy to use those credits because you can use them on any airline. And a lot of times it's just a matter of which agent you get when you call. So, you may call back a second or third time or something, or send a
I've
secure
always just
message.
secure messaged, but
Yeah. I see.
yeah.
I've always called, but I know some
Mhm.
people secure message. But yeah, I mean, I've always called and it's like usually a 2 or 3 minute call.
Right.
I haven't yet run into a situation where they told me no or asked me a question about the charge that I was looking to erase. So, and I've used them
Right.
for legit charges a number of times, but still, I mean, few times on low cost carriers, it's been like $180 charge. And I've been like, yeah, 150 of that was fees. $30 was the airfare. Nobody ever asks.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that you'll run into an agent here or there that might say no, but I don't know. I've had pretty good success there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I've had like seat assignment fees where, to get my seat, I had to pay for airfare. And so I consider that my seat assignment fee. And then they refund it, no problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's like really not been much of an issue. So,
Right.
yeah. So
Yeah.
they're pretty easy to cash out, especially because you can book travel forever in advance with that. So yeah,
Right.
those are, I think those are the easiest ones. With Amex, you have to pick a specific airline. It's got to be a US airline. And then you got to be able to get that airline to charge you something. Whereas, with Chase,
Right.
just pick any old airline. So much easier.
All
All right.
right.
Next question up. Josh asks, which suite is the best suite in the Big Sur Ventana? Side question, do you think Big Sur Ventana is a better points redemption than Carmel Valley Ranch? Greg is the man to answer those because I have not been to either of those properties.
Well, the second question's easy to answer. Yes, it's only, I think, 25,000 points more, and it's, the cash price is like tends to be 2 to 3 times more than Carmel Valley Ranch, but it also, in terms of just the quality of the experience, in my opinion, it's just
no, wait,
way,
you said
way
25,000 points more? You mean 5,000 points more?
5,000 points more
5,000
than
points more.
that. So Carmel Valley Ranch, did I say 20?
You did say
Carmel Valley Ranch goes for 25K points, I think, and Ventana Big Sur goes for 30K. And so that's a no-brainer if you're choosing between the two. Unless, I mean, if you're more into sports types of things, there's not much of that going on at Ventana. It's more of a serene and go hiking. There's no tennis or other kind of sports there. So kind of depends what you want. But no, I'd do that in a second. Which suite is the best? I mean, I literally have only been to one suite there, so I can't even remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I said it in my review. So it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. And if you probably know, actually, we have an update. Last week, I said I thought they had closed the loophole where you could book those suite awards online. They have not.
Oh.
In fact, what happened was the reason my suite booking got canceled, award booking got canceled, was they changed the date of when they were reopening. And so it was past when I had booked. So I've rebooked now for late August. And last time we talked about this, I was really worried that all the suites would be taken up, so there'd be no room for upgrades. But I could pick any time at all that I wanted to book a suite. So
wow,
that doesn't look like that's happened. That's not true of base rooms, but you could book suites just about any time. And so I took a chance and just went with the lowest end suite, hoping I get upgraded to one that I really want.
Nice. Well, there you go. So there you have it. If you want to read more about Big Sur and the Big Sur Ventana there, Ventana Big Sur. There we go. I said it right that time, I think. And the exact suite that Greg had, just type in, Google frequent miler Ventana Big Sur, and you'll find it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we've got Yuri back. Hey, Yuri, can you still upgrade from Ink Cash to Ink Plus or Preferred?
I mean, I think you can, but this came up a little earlier in terms of is Chase not allowing upgrades and downgrades right now? That's not something that I have heard lately, so I don't think that you can't. But I think you can is my answer.
Well,
And
wait.
go ahead.
You think you can upgrade to the Ink Business Preferred, but
Preferred, of course, not
I
the
don't
Plus.
think you can upgrade to the Plus.
Right. No, I'm sorry. I glanced right over the Ink Plus. No, I don't think you can get the Ink Plus anymore. I don't think you've been able to get the Ink Plus for years at this point. So
right.
No, I don't think you can do that. But the Preferred, yes. And I did see that Dr. Credit pointed out, one of their readers pointed out in the Chase announcements today. I hadn't seen the information in the press release, but apparently Chase said that they are going to bring the ability to redeem points for statement credits for more types of stuff to more cards in the future. And Dr. Credit had kind of gleaned from that, and I think he's probably right, that must mean the Ink Business Preferred, because I think it's very unlikely that they're going to introduce increased redemptions on the no annual fee cards on either side. So it makes sense to me that perhaps the Ink Business Preferred will see 1.25 cents per point. And I also agree with the fact that he said that it will probably be for different types of things, not groceries, maybe shipping or wireless services or some of those categories that you'd be expected to spend money on with your business cards. So there may be some opportunities to cash out points, not as good as the CSR, but perhaps an opportunity nonetheless.
No, but it starts edging closer to the Amex sweet spot where if you want to cash out your points and you have the Schwab Platinum card, you could do so at 1.25. So the more things they open it up to, the more it gets like that. But I'd love to see it just be straight up cash out if you wanted to. But
wouldn't we all? Yeah, very good. All right. So then Sam asks us, if I've spent any of my $300 CSR annual travel credit, will I need to spend $1,800 on groceries in June to maximize the 5X promotion? So he's saying, because you're going to get that $300 back, do you have to, because you have a $1,500 cap, and he's going to get that $300 back. So in order to earn 5X, does he have to spend $1,800 in June? I think so.
Well, so what he's saying is there's a $1,500 cap, right, on the 5X. So I'm actually worried that it's gonna be worse than that. I'm worried that what's gonna happen is
you might be right.
You're not gonna get 5X on that 300, and after you spend 1,200 more, which you will get 5X on, that you probably won't get 5X on any spend after that. So we don't really know at this point what will happen, but it does put people in an awkward situation where you kind of want to use up, if you want to take advantage of that 5X, you kind of want to use up your travel credits first, go out dining a lot or something before going to the grocery store, but then you're losing out on 3X. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of an awkward spot. You're right, but I think Greg is probably right. I think that's exactly what will happen. The computer system will just recognize that you've spent $1,500 for the month and shut it down at that point. So yeah, I think that's true. You'd want to spend the 300 some other way first, or spend your $300 right now before May ends. Go to the grocery store and spend your $300 now. If you've already,
did it start already?
Oh no, it doesn't start yet. It starts May 31st though, doesn't it? Is that what it is? I'm gonna
I can't remember. One of them supposedly started May 31st, the other one June 1st.
Yeah, May 31st was the ability to cash out the points. So I think you're probably right that the $300 credit starts June 1st. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, no dice on that. So
all right. So that's not a very concrete answer, but best we've got. All right, let's move on to Jerry.
Good.
Jerry says, I proactively called Amex about airline credits that were given to me, even though I canceled my Delta award tickets and received a $134 credit from Delta. The rep said the credits can't be reversed. Should I worry about a future clawback? I documented the call.
I mean, I wouldn't lose sleep at night worrying about it, but is there a possibility you'll get clawed back like 3 years down the road after you've closed the card and forgotten you ever had it? Maybe these days. I mean, with Amex, it's hard to say. I think you shouldn't have to worry about it. I think it's ridiculous if they do claw it back, but at the same time, they've done some ridiculous stuff lately. So it's hard to say. I don't think that there's any customer service rep you're going to talk to that's going to be able to change that in any way, like reverse the credit.
I also don't think any of them would really know what's going to happen. They are not involved in the clubbacks in any way whatsoever. And so,
yeah,
your guess is as good as theirs is.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of those situations where I have refunds. Nothing's been clawed back yet. And this has been true for years, but that doesn't prove anything because we hear stories about people like Nick said who've canceled their card and get clawbacks after the fact. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a bizarre world we live in right now with Amex. So you would think with the COVID situation that they would be reasonable and say, okay, well, obviously everybody's stuff got canceled. Nobody was trying to game it on this necessarily, or probably the majority of people anyway weren't trying to game it. They had legit things booked. So you would think that somebody in there, if you explained it to somebody at the top, that they'd be like, oh yeah, that's ridiculous. We're not going to bother clawing that back. But I don't know that the computer system will be that smart.
Right.
I wouldn't bet on it. So yeah. So the moral of the story is don't lose sleep over it, but they might claw it back.
Nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do. No, nothing you can do. I don't think proactively at all. All right. EB asks, what do you say about Hertz? Is there anything that I can do with my points? If I'm not mistaken, they stopped transfers to Southwest. So Hertz, of course, announced this week that they are filing for Chapter 11, I think, right, for bankruptcy protection. So what do you think, Greg? Anything to do with the points? What would you do? Are you concerned about that? Do you think that Hertz is going to make it through? Or are they going to fold?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, this is one. So with airlines, we've been saying, well, their frequent flyer program is so valuable. So, I feel pretty good about it. Hertz program, not so much. I don't see much value in that program. I don't know of any good use for points outside of transferring them out to airlines. I mean, especially if you don't have a rental car to book, and I don't even know if they're allowing that now. I've got nothing.
Yeah, I don't have any good uses of the points either. See if you can get yourself some magazines, I guess. And I think it's worth mentioning though that when a company files for bankruptcy, it's usually a long, slow process. So I don't know Hertz's financial situation. I haven't read many of the details apart from the fact that they filed for bankruptcy. But I know Sears has been like half in bankruptcy protection for like 20 years, right?
That's true.
It's usually not an overnight gone, closed kind of a thing. Not that we haven't seen that here and there, and especially in the current environment, it's probably more possible than in the past. But I doubt that that's going to happen. And I'm also going to say, since I imagine that domestic travel will be much more popular than international for quite a while, I think Hertz probably has a pretty bright future when travel returns. I think that there's going to be a lot more people traveling domestically and probably a lot of demand for rental cars. So I don't necessarily think that they're going to not make it. I wouldn't rush to redeem my points for like free magazine subscriptions. Let's put it that way. I'd hold out.
All right.
Okay. So
whose turn is it to read here?
Might be mine. So I'll read Larry while you read what Carrie wrote. So any thoughts on the IHG move towards dynamic pricing? Does it impact the value of the Chase IHG 40K free night certificate significantly, or impact whether the IHG card is worth a 524 slot?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, I think so far we've only seen it in some hotels in Asia. So I haven't spent any time looking at if there's patterns in the cases where that's happened. Now, when it was first announced they were going to do it, one thing I was kind of actually looking forward to was the possibility that some hotels that are not normally 40K, would drop down to 40K when they're sort of off peak. And because I've had that situation frequently when I've gone to try to use my IHG free nights in cities, and I find that, it happens to be a cheap time in that city for hotels, and so it seems like a bad use of the cert because, hotels are going for, let's say, 120 a night, and so I'm not saving like much more, as much as I'd hope. You'd hope to get like $200 or more value from the cert, but so I'd be pretty happy if a nicer hotel that came down in price would be priced at 40K or less, so that I can use that to get nicest hotel I can for that 40K cert. But We don't know if that's going to happen or not. What we do know is there's probably going to be a lot of hotels that would normally have been 40K, but you won't be able to book. So what do you think?
Does it devalue the cert? Yeah. I mean, I think that likely it does, because while there will be those outlier opportunities that Greg said to stay in a really nice place, or, your 40K cert potentially, I think probably more often than not, you're going to run into it the opposite way, where the place you want is no longer available. So does it devalue the certificate somewhat? Yes, it does. On the flip side, I didn't value that certificate too highly anyway, because I've said before that you can buy the points, the IHG points, often for about a half a cent each, sometimes even less than half a cent each, but even in their published sales, usually it's a half a cent. So you're talking about $200 worth of points, and the points are more valuable to me than the certificate, because those don't expire. You can combine them or use them for multiple nights. So that night to me is already worth less than $200. So I think maybe 150 is like being a little generous. Would I pay $150 for the cert? Maybe.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, if in the right situation, I guess, where I had a use, if I were just buying it, probably $100 maybe. And so I'd keep the $49 card.
So, but if you would pay 100, then it's worth keeping the $89 card.
Yeah, it is. By $11, it's close. It's like, I'm
well,
not excited
no, I mean,
about
but by that logic, if you say you would buy those certs for $100, and even if the card was $100, that means it's worth keeping the card.
Yes.
Or getting and keeping the card.
It does mean that. It doesn't necessarily make me excited about it. It's like,
no, sure.
I buy
it's
eggs
not
if
like
they're on sale for $2, but I'm not excited about it. Like the fact that
Right.
it's an okay price is not like exciting. So,
True.
So anyway, my point there is that I don't think the certificate is amazing value anyway, and this doesn't help it any.
No.
Is the card worth a 524 slot? I mean, I don't think so. But if you're staying at hotels and your employer is paying the bill, and you can earn a lot of IHG points on the IHG card, it certainly might be worth a 524 slot for you. And or if you're going to use a lot of IHG points and be able to use the fourth night free, then great, it's worth it to you.
Yeah, it kind of depends how much you tend to stay at IHG properties as to how much value you'll get out of the card. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
All right. Lawrence says, how do you recommend ramping up MS for a new MSer? Do you have a post on this? Would be good, I think, to write about it by issuer or other factors.
Let's get your thoughts on this one, Greg. What do you say? I think you'd be good to answer this one.
Well,
and does it make a difference, the current economic environment? Does that make a difference?
Of course it makes
a difference. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of oh man, I don't even know where to start here. So advice I give to people getting started is always like, go slowly. And there's so many things that can go wrong that you really want to just kind of dip your feet in and try things out, learn from others. Ideally, just get to know someone in your region who MS is, so that they can hold your hand, because so much of MS is dependent on what's available in your area, which stores you can even buy Visa gift cards, but usually it's more about where can you go to liquidate them, turn them into money orders, for example. And we can't just like write a post and say, go to Walmart and do this, because it varies. The rules vary from one Walmart to another, even from one teller to another in a Walmart, as to how they're going to handle your situation. And so, could we write a post about like those details? I mean, we could, but it'd be almost useless, I think, because there'd be so much in there that would say, it depends. And so yeah, my recommendation would be wait to get into it until, all the stores are open and you're feeling safe about going out to the stores, and try really hard, find others in your area to connect up with, and see if someone's willing to kind of give you some pointers. And I think that's by far the best way to go.
Yep. I totally agree with Greg. Go slow. I would say if you're brand new to this, buy yourself one Visa gift card. And if you're going to try to, for example, turn that into a money order, go out and try to buy a money order or two and see how that process goes. Make them small so that you can just get used to the flow of how it works, and see where it works and where you can use them. And typically, I would tell you that arguing with a teller is not going to get you anywhere. So if they tell you you can't buy a gift card with a credit card, and they tell you you can't buy 2 or 3, or you can't do this or that, 9 times out of 10, your best bet is to say, okay, thanks, and leave and come back another time and then check
Right.
for another cashier, because like Greg said, what works with one cashier might not with another, or one store, literally the next store a few miles down the road might be totally different. So there's a lot of variance. And so I'd say go slow, stay organized. Like, it's so easy to lose one gift card, and you lose one gift card and all the rewards you've earned from a whole bunch of gift cards suddenly evaporate if you lose
Right.
one of them. So, be very organized when you're going about doing it. And also, keep in mind that you could get shut down for doing it. So, if you're going to lose sleep and have big problems because of that, then, you may not want to get involved, or you may want to go very slowly. Now, you may be able to go really hard and not get shut down too. In the current economic environment, I don't know if that's true. I'd probably be pretty particularly careful right now because of the risk of people financially, going bust here. I think that the issuers may look more closely at your transactions. So be particularly careful about that right now. And then when it comes to the money orders, don't deposit money orders in a bank that issues credit cards that you care about.
That's
So,
that's a good safety tip. Yeah.
if you got don't deposit your money orders at Chase. I mean, they have credit card. They can shut down all your accounts. You're going to lose all your Chase cards too.
Right.
So,
Right.
Careful there.
There's 2 sides to getting shut down, just to fill this in. So there's the side of like when you're using your credit card to buy gift cards in a lot of places, that's something that some credit card issuers, they see big spend on the cards, all of a sudden that's going to get them worried and might get you shut down. The other side of it is where the banks see you depositing large amounts of money orders, and they look at that suspiciously and might shut down your bank account. And as Nick said, if it was a company like Chase, they'll not only shut down your bank account, but probably also your credit cards too. And so you just don't want that to happen at all. So a sort of rule of thumb is make sure you have a bank account you don't care about if you're going to be depositing money orders to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we say don't care about, make sure you really don't care about it, because
Yeah.
A, you want to not care about it in terms of the credit cards issued by the issuer, but B, quick caveat story that somebody gave us a few months ago at an event. Somebody told us that they had gotten shut down by Wells Fargo. And not only did Wells Fargo shut down their credit card and their bank accounts, but because their wife was a joint account holder on one of the accounts, they shut down the wife's accounts. And because the wife had power of attorney over her parents' accounts, they shut her parents' accounts. So, sometimes shutdowns can go really wild like that. So make sure you're picking an account to deposit in where you don't care about your relationship with the bank at all when it comes to that. And keep in mind that you should ramp up slowly. Start slow, go a little bit at a time, and kind of build up slowly over time. Because Greg said, when banks see large gift card purchases, that may raise a red flag. Now, the definition of large really can vary. Large could be, a few hundred, a few thousand, it could be tens of thousands. It really varies from person to person to person. Some people do a lot, and some people don't get away with much before they get shut down. So I think that's all the good caveats that we have for you there. Go slow, take your time.
Okay, great. Why don't you read David's question?
Okay, David asks, any Hyatt US locations you think would be good for this August? I think Greg is the perfect person to answer this question. Which Hyatt location? Because you did like all of the posts on this stuff, right? About like every hotel chain basically now, right? Where you should go this summer. So what are the Hyatt locations? And you already mentioned a Hyatt reservation for August.
Right. So yeah, right. That's the first step, is go to my post that's about that topic, about best Hyatt resorts for summer travel, and look at that. But the Ventana Big Sur that we talked about earlier, of all the resorts I've been to, of all the Hyatt resorts, certainly, but I'd say all the resorts I've ever been to in the US, and it's my favorite, hands down. And so that would be the first one I would mention. So
there you go.
But
there you go.
Yeah.
He's got a very thorough post on all the best places that are not in places that are too hot, and not too hot, not too cold.
Yeah,
just
Big
right.
Sur won't be. I don't think it'd be too hot at all. I think it'd be very nice.
Yeah.
So,
Perfect.
All right.
Very good. Okay.
Todd asks, I need to reschedule award travel on United for 1 plus years out. Any idea how they're handling this? Any chance they'll redeposit points for no fee?
I don't think that United is waiving fees. So we have a master post. If you go to Frequent Miler to our site, and in the search box, you type in like coronavirus cancellation policies or something like that, you'll find the policies for all of the various airlines, the cruises, the hotel chains. There's a nice little table of contents. It's all there in one post. So you can see exactly how United is handling award tickets. But no, I don't think that they're, and I'll double check while Greg gives you his perspective, but I don't think that they're waiving redeposit fees. So I think that that's unlikely to happen is my instinct.
Yeah.
What do
I
you
mean,
think?
I did have flights booked with United Miles where they did waive the
There
redeposit
you
fees,
go.
but that was for travel in May and June. And so I think that those were specifically included in their waivers. I don't know that travel further out would be included, or maybe it depends on when you booked it. So anyway, yeah, I agree with Nick. You should just read the details, because they generally are based on both when you bought the
Right.
tickets and when the travel is for. So you have to look at both of those aspects. Now, Nick,
Yeah.
I find some of them are less clear about what they do about award travel than paid travel.
Many of them are. United, though, is particularly clear, I
Okay.
think. It doesn't actually say award travel, but it
Uh-huh.
says any ticket issued on United ticket stock, it says where the ticket number starts with 016, which would include the award tickets. So
Got it.
the way I read that policy, since it very specifically says any ticket that starts with 016, ticket number that is, that should include their award tickets. So, and I misspoke, because they are waiving redeposit fees, I think, perhaps in some situations. Again, like Greg said, it really varies. Like there's rules for if you purchase your ticket before March 2nd for travel up until May 31st, or, if your ticket was issued after March 3rd or issued between April 1st and May 30th, there's like so many different things that'll make your head spin. So I think you got to kind of look at the policies. And then the next thing is reach out to the Twitter team. And I said that I don't think they're waiving redeposit fees, but when Greg said they waived redeposit fees for him, the first thing I thought is, yeah, that's the other thing. Sometimes you just might get a nice agent that's able to do something for you. So it's always worth asking for what you want. I remember one time when I was literally packing up my bags to go to the airport and realized I didn't have a visa for the place I was flying to. And so I had to change my flight. And so I had to call, and I should have had to have paid, I don't know, $150, $175 a passenger or something like that. I was on my honeymoon, and the agent was very sympathetic and waived all of the change fees. So, and I didn't even ask. I mentioned that I was on my honeymoon. She just said she was going to waive the change fees. I didn't actually ask for that yet. So that was really nice. Another time the Twitter team waived the Economy Plus seating fee for me when I wasn't able to get it selected. So you never know what somebody might do if you're just nice. Be nice, and maybe they will.
Good advice.
Yeah. All right. So that was that. And then that brings me to question from Jerry. Jerry says, is MS scrutinized more in certain regions of the country? Clarification of the question, liquidation is not a problem. The question is about card issuer scrutiny. So is MS scrutinized more in certain regions of the country than others? Scrutinized, you said, I think, in terms of the issuer. Is the issuer more likely to scrutinize MS based on where you live?
I don't know. It seems like, so we do know that it's much harder, for example, to MS in New York City, or in a lot of big cities where there's more fraud, and so people are have tighter rules about things. And so might they also look at where you live as a risk factor when they're looking at whether or not you're a potential risk? I think it's
Plausible.
possible.
Yeah,
It's possible.
it's
I
plausible.
mean, so I'd be surprised for those that use like those computer models to do all that. I'd be kind of shocked if they didn't use that kind of zip code data that they have to as one of the inputs. And so if the model says, that zip code is more likely to bust out or whatever, yeah, I
Yeah, I mean,
okay, so there it is,
yeah,
official. Yes.
maybe. Yes, maybe. Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know.
I've never heard a story about that specifically. Like Greg said, it's harder regionally because
Nobody
of
would
store
ever know.
policies, but from issuer policy, yeah, I mean, but you would think though that in all of these years that there would have been stories about all of these MSers from New York City getting shut down because they were MSing in, Atlantic City or wherever it is that they go to I don't think anybody actually goes to Atlantic City, guys, so don't get excited. But wherever it is that they go to MS, them getting shut down for that because they live in New York City or certain neighborhood area. I don't know. I mean, I would think you would have heard of that by now, but at the same time, it seems to me like it would make sense. You look at the data and see, wow, we're getting a lot of fraud from that zip code. So you should, watch that more closely. You would think they do. Haven't heard about it though. All right. So good question.
All right. So now Grant wants to know, is Conrad available to answer a question? So Conrad is Nick's son.
Yeah.
What was his favorite staycation faraway challenge to participate in? Do you know?
I was looking over to see if I still had the monitor here or my wife had taken it. No, he's napping. So no, sorry. It's nap time. At least I don't think. No, he's probably still not up. What was his favorite staycation faraway challenge to participate in? That's probably, it seemed like he had the most fun with the cooking. I think that he likes food, and whenever we're cooking in the kitchen, he has a little stool that he was standing on when we took that video, and he loves to stand on the stool. And in fact, when I was cooking, I had no plans to have him in that video. Just they came in the house and my wife was trying to shush him to keep him quiet, and I was like, nah, it's okay, I can just edit it out. And he kept saying, I want to help daddy. And I was like, tell him to come on over. And so he grabbed his own stool and brought it over. And so I said, okay, come on up. So I think he probably liked that one the most, I would say.
Yeah, that was just like when I was doing the Necker Island video. My son, my 20-year-old son was like, help daddy. And so, we shaved his beard to a goatee, and pretty much the same story.
Somehow I think it's going to change at some point. I'm not sure that he's always going to be that way, but I appreciate the hope though, that maybe he will.
Yeah, so. No, it's exactly like that forever.
He clearly wasn't the most excited about helping Carrie, because that video that Carrie did at the end, if you saw the last video from Carrie, where she, tried to recruit the help of my son and Truffles, we were asking them to, I asked my son to say vote for Carrie like repeatedly. She used one of those videos in the post, but I sent her a couple, and for days I was asking him to say vote for Carrie. And I mean, this kid will repeat almost everything that we say, and he would not say vote for Carrie.
That's so funny.
He still says no Stephen Pepper. Like, it comes out at weird random. I mentioned something about Stephen Pepper the other night while we were brushing his teeth, and he's like, no Stephen Pepper. But he won't say vote for Carrie for that.
Love it. All right. I think we're lightning round.
Light it up. Yes.
All right. Next question. Can you suggest a methodology to make searching for award flights a less tedious process? I struggle with this.
Juicy mouth.
Wow. That's okay. I was going to say that was a tough lightning round question, but you just answered it. That's super easy.
Yeah. Juicy mouth.
I agree.
It's the easiest. I mean, it's not perfect, and you could spend more time searching millions of different sites and do a slightly better job. But if you want to save yourself a lot of time and frustration, Juicy Mouths.
So wait till you have like a few days free and sign up for the $10 plan that gives you 5 days of unlimited use, and go to town on it. Super easy.
Mm-hmm. All right. Jan says, would a local credit union be a good place to open an account for MSing?
Yes.
Yeah. Generally speaking, yeah.
That's what most people do. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's see. Jerry, go ahead. You're going to read.
I recently discovered a sweet spot with AA 50K Advantage miles on Etihad apartment from Abu Dhabi to Seoul or to Tokyo. What does that say? Tokyo.
Yep.
I don't have my glasses on.
That's fine.
Is this a hidden gem?
Yeah. I mean, it long has been. So that one, when AA changed their award chart a couple of years ago, it used to be 45,000 points, and it's actually from the Middle East to Asia 1, I think is what it is. So it's Japan, Korea, China, I guess is that region, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I mean, at 50,000 points in first class, it's great. I redeemed 45 when it was 45. Now it's 50. And I actually started in Cairo because Cairo was a cheap flight from somewhere in Europe. And so I originated in Cairo for 50K, flew Cairo to Abu Dhabi to Tokyo. And that flight from Abu Dhabi to Tokyo is like 10, 12 hours, something like that. It's not apartments, at least it wasn't at the time. And I don't think it is still now. So that's the thing. You're not going to get Etihad apartments, to my knowledge. You'll end up just with the regular Etihad first class. But having flown a number of the nicer first class products now, it's still probably my favorite in terms of service and the comfort of the seat. I really liked it. So, I mean, Singapore's great. Don't get me wrong. There are other great first class products. And at that point, you're like,
He says he found Etihad apartment though.
Oh, you did?
So it could be that they're flying the A380 now on those routes. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a Seoul they might.
I
Maybe they
mean,
do Tokyo.
yeah. So it might not be a hidden sweet spot, but it's
It is a sweet
certainly
spot. Yeah.
an incredible sweet spot, and we should write that up.
Yeah.
And because I'd say having flown Etihad Apartments, 100K is an incredible deal for a one-way flight. That's not even as long as those. So that's just a ridiculous value. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's definitely one of the best values on the American Airlines award chart. I think that we don't often write about, and I feel like our readers from comments, I think, don't often think about flights that don't touch the United States, booking flights that are between two other regions. But most of the award travel I've booked over the years has actually been that way, where I've
Is that right?
Acted sweet spots around the world and done trips where I've visited multiple regions. So
yeah.
Okay, that's not lightning though. We're talking too long about that. So
true.
yes. So next up, then David asks, I pulled the trigger on 100K upgrade offer for the Marriott Brilliant because of the 6 months to meet the spend. My goal is to visit Bora Bora. Do you see Marriott running any crazy point earning promotions?
Not yet. I mean, they have the 6x grocery spend, but I wouldn't call that crazy. That's nice, but it's capped. So it's only so far you could go with that. Can you think of anything?
It's kept at 7,500, right? On the Brilliant, on the Amex side, I think is what it is.
Right.
Times
So you could get a decent number of
yeah,
points.
I mean, almost a night out of that in Bora Bora. So not quite, but almost a night in Bora Bora.
But that said, I mean, we haven't seen too many like crazy big point promotion offers yet, but I still do think it's coming. I still think it's coming.
Yeah. I think we will. We haven't yet, but I think it's very likely that we will. So I would hang on tight for that and see what comes up in the next couple of months. All right. And then let's see.
Okay, we're on to the last one, I think. Oh, well.
Yep.
Anyway.
There was an interrupting comment there, but yeah, that's a good point, Steve. You said that flights that don't touch the U.S. sweet spots around the world, that you think that's an underreported topic in general. And
gotcha.
I think it is. So that's something we'll have to talk about.
We should do that. Also, I think it'd be fantastic to write a piecing it together post about piecing together the sweet spots.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, very good.
All right.
Well,
I think that takes us to the end.
Yeah.
And thanks everyone for sticking around while we were invisible for the first 20 minutes.
We were trying. I mean, we were running into technical problems where like I could hear Greg and Carrie, and Carrie could hear me but not Greg, and Greg could hear Carrie but not me. And so
and he's not making this up. It was really that way. So
really that way.
We actually kind of joked about going live like that, where we would have to pass along the message around in a chain to
which
find
is
out
harder than it sounds, because I kept forgetting that Carrie couldn't hear Craig, so like he'd say something, I'd be like, oh yeah, and then I'm waiting for Carrie's response and realize, oh, Carrie didn't hear that. I got to repeat it. I forgot.
Right. Then one time I thought Carrie was answering me, but I guess you would ask her the same question at the same time.
It's like, oh yeah, I can hear you, and Greg's like, oh, you can, great. And I was like, no, I think she can hear me. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
It was. We should have recorded it. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out a little late with us. Thanks for coming on a little bit late with us. Thanks, Greg. Always fun being here. We'll see you guys again probably next week.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.